Hello, welcome to my QuickBooks CSV import tutorial. In this part of the video, I'll show you how to streamline your data preparation process for QuickBooks by harnessing the power of pivot tables. Learn the step-by-step process to ensure a smooth and error-free import of your CSV files into QuickBooks. Let's get started. In our last session in Excel, we created a pivot table. And we were able to organize our data that was exported out of another system or list of contacts into Excel. And this session, what we're going to do is we're going to just copy and paste all of our contacts into the different modules of QuickBooks. So right now we're going to start with vendors. Here's my pivot table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the pivot table and I'm going to select the entire sheet and copy it by right clicking, and then adding a new worksheet and pasting special and selecting values. Because we're going to have to add some formula. We need to combine city, state, and zip code as one column or one field, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So again, here's a list of my companies or vendors, and then I have my first name, my last name, my address, phone number, and email. This is dummy data that I downloaded from macaru.com, and I'll put the link into the description again. So first I want to make sure that my city, state, and zip code are one column and not three. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to column I and I'm going to insert a column. Okay, so I'm just going to insert a sheet column and I'm going to put in a formula. The formula is equals, and then I select F5 and then I connect that or concatenate it with an ampersand, and then I put a comma, a space, a quote, so that it'll be Phoenix, comma, space, Arizona, AZ, space, and then the zip code 85035. That's much easier. So I put in another ampersand to concatenate or connect, and I add the state. Then I do again, ampersand, quote, space, quote, ampersand, and I put in the zip code. And that's it. I hit enter. So now you'll see that these three columns have been combined into one column. They'll all be together. And then I can do a Control C and then copy and paste this all the way down for Control V. So I can go all the way down to the bottom. And I'm going to do Control V. There. So now I have them all. You will notice that for states such as Connecticut or New Jersey or Massachusetts, you lose your leading zeros. And in the last session, I showed you how to bring those zeros back. So I highlight column H for the zip code. I right click and I say Format Cells. And then I select Special. And you'll see on the top of Special is zip code. And then I just say OK. So now I get all my leading zeros back. I can hide these columns by highlighting them. I highlight each one and do a right click and say hide. QuickBooks won't know the difference whether it's a formula or you have those three extra columns. It'll ignore it. Just takes whatever's on display. So now I have my company, my first name, my last name, my address, which is street address, and then my city, state, and zip, then the phone number, and then the email. So that's on the Excel side. So on the QuickBooks side, I open up QuickBooks, and again I'm using version 2020. Under the vendors menu item, I can go to my vendor center, and here is the list of all of my vendors. I've already brought in some of them. So what I want to do is, if I go to new vendor, I can create new vendors one by one, which is most likely a one-off, because you don't want to have to sit there and type in 200 different vendors. So if I do new vendor, I can go through all the different fields and put in all the information and then save it, but that'll take a long time. So instead, QuickBooks gives us the option to add multiple vendors at one time. So here I have add multiple vendors, and I get a grid. Okay, so in the grid you'll see the vendor name, the contact name, then the address, and then at the end we have the phone number and the email for contact information. So before I do anything, I want to compare, and I'm just going to make this smaller so I can compare my headings of my columns with what information is up here in QuickBooks. So here I see I have, okay, the company is the same as the vendor, and then I have my first name and last name, and then I have the street address, which is address 2. Okay, I don't have another address like FoodWorks or North Publishing Company, etc. Then I have the city, state, and zip together in address 3, the street address, the city, state, and zip. Then if I scroll over, I have an additional address column, and then a phone number and an email. Okay, so if I copy and paste this, it's not going to line up correctly, and I'll show you that. I'll just do a quick copy and paste, highlight, do right click and copy, come back over to QuickBooks, and I'm going to come down and make sure I'm at the beginning and do a paste. Now what happens? Address 1 is the street address, address 2 is city, state, zip, phone number, and address 3. That's not right. That doesn't look good at all. Okay, so I can go to the right click and I can delete the line and start over. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that my lines here are going to line up with my lines up here. So I go to the Customize Columns button, and here I have the list of my columns. So I have company, first name, last name, and then this address 1 is the company name again. I don't need that, so I can remove that. And then I have address 2 is street, address 3 city, state, and zip. Address 4, no, I don't need an address 4. So again, I can remove that. Then I have the phone number and the email. And then I say okay. So now you see the changes are made, and it should line up better with my spreadsheet. So I have my vendor name, I have my first name and last name, my address, street address, city, state, and zip, phone number, email. Okay, so the next step would be, if I want, I can come back to Excel, and I'll just open up Excel, and I could just highlight each of the lines, do a right click, and say copy. Okay, minimize Excel, come back over to QuickBooks, do a right click, and say paste. So there I have it. My vendor, my first name, my last name, my address 3, city, state, and zip. Oh, I lost the leading zeros again. I guess it acts like Excel. It takes off those leading zeros. So you may want to go back and just double check that you have a leading zero for Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. Those are the three main ones I'm aware of, because I'm on the East Coast. There's my phone number, and there's the email. So I save my changes. 7 records have been changed. I say okay, and I can close this box. And then I can look over here, and I can see that I have them over here, and the information is in the right places. Very good. And go back to my home, and there you have it. And that's all she wrote. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching and have a good day.